Hi, it's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is scrub. And this verb was suggested by the viewer Luis. I just want to say a special thank you for sharing yet another great idea. Now, let's begin our discussion of this verb by looking at some of the definitions or the ways that we use this verb. The first way you might encounter scrub means to rub someone or something hard in order to clean them, or you might think of it. So we can use this with individuals. You might also think of different things. I recently heard someone say, like, "Oh, we were on these gravel roads, and kind of wet, muddy conditions, and so then we had to scrub the car." Right? So really. We might say putting some elbow grease, some force in order to get the dirt and grime off the car. A second and related way to use this verb, scrub, means to thoroughly clean one's hands and arms. So this might get used in some more medical settings where it's really important that we have excellent hygiene in order not to pass along any viruses, bacteria, or other pathogens. A third way you might encounter the verb scrub means to cancel or abandon something. I know I've heard this as I have followed particular missions to space. Many times these things get scheduled months in advance, and as the date nears, sometimes the weather just isn't appropriate for that event. So they might scrub the launch, right? They cancel it or abandon it, and many times, of course, that gets rescheduled. A fourth way you might hear scrub used can mean to remove impurities from gas or vapor. It's a little more specific to scientific settings, but I hope you can kind of see some similarities: cleaning, abandoning, removing, right? For now, you should know that scrub is a regular verb. To make the progressive form of this verb, we're going to double the B at the end of the verb because we have a one syllable verb with a short vowel sound that ends in the pattern consonant, vowel, consonant. So double that B, then I add ing, that forms scrubbing. The past tense and the participle forms of the verb can be made in a similar way. We're going to double the B before we add ed. Now our base verb, scrub, b, ends in a voice sound. B sounds are voiced in English. So this means our ed ending is just going to make a duh sound. Okay, so I always would like to note with my students, duh is different than id. Id adds an extra syllable, duh does not. So we're still going to have one syllable here in the past tense. Scrubbed, scrubbed. Now, there are actually a number of phrasal verbs connected to our verb of the day, so we'll focus our discussion here. The first phrasal verb you might encounter is to scrub away. This means we are cleaning some substance or some kind of residue from something in a rather thorough or vigorous way. So think kind of giving a lot of effort towards that cleaning action. So an example of how you might hear this used: first, scrub away the dirt before applying ointment to the wound. So here we have an imperative, right? Someone is giving a command, they're telling someone what to do. Clean the dirt away, right? Get rid of it before doing this um, second action. Another phrasal verb you might encounter is to scrub down. This can mean to wash someone or something thoroughly and vigorously. An example of this might be, we scrubbed down our bikes after riding through the muddy streets. So this is an example of a simple past tense sentence. And you might notice, well, the definitions here of scrub away, scrub down sound very similar. What you'll notice after away is sort of the substance, the residue, the thing that has made something unclean or dirty. That's coming after that preposition. Whereas when we use scrub down, now we're talking about the thing that is being cleaned. Okay? Another phrasal verb you might encounter is to scrub in. This has a very particular meaning in healthcare. So it's when a medical professional prepares to join a surgery by putting on surgical scrubs and thoroughly washing the hands, forearms, really preparing to be kind of surgically clean. So, an example of this might be 3 additional nurses will scrub in to assist with this complex surgery. This is a simple future sentence using will. Another phrasal verb you might encounter is to scrub off. Again, we're cleaning away some kind of substance or residue, and we're doing it in a very thorough and vigorous way. So again, a lot of effort. An example of how you might hear this used: scrub off that makeup, right? So here maybe we have a parental figure telling their child they don't want them wearing a lot of cosmetics on their face. So again, here's another imperative or a command. Couple more phrasal verbs for us to discuss. The next one is to scrub out. This can have a couple different meanings. One would be to wash the inside of something very thoroughly. An example of this might be, have you scrubbed out those pots yet? Right? Here's an example of the present perfect. We're wanting to know if an action has already been completed. So a second way you might encounter scrub out means to erase or render it illegible by scrubbing, typically with a tool or a writing implement. So something cannot be read, illegible. I'm sorry, that is not rolling off my tongue today. So, an example of how this could be used in a sentence: someone has scrubbed out the serial number on this gun. Again, another present perfect sentence. Feel like sometimes I've read stories like this or I've seen things like this in a movie. So somebody is trying to get rid of certain markings that would identify the owner of a particular firearm. And last phrasal verb for us to discuss today is to scrub up. Generally, this means we're washing ourselves very thoroughly with soap and water. So again, you might hear it used as an imperative or as a command: scrub up, it's time for dinner, right? So here, maybe you can envision people have been out working outside, maybe playing outside, hands are dirty, maybe their face and other parts, right? And so somebody here wants someone to be thoroughly clean before sitting down for a meal. Now, let's continue to talk about some words that are related to our verb scrub. And the first word we're going to talk about is just the noun form of this verb. The noun scrub has the exact same spelling and the exact same pronunciation. And as you can see here, there are a number of different ways to use this noun in a sentence. We're going to talk about a few of them. So the first way you'll hear the noun scrub used refers to the act of scrubbing something or someone. So again, think the act of cleaning. An example of this might be, I need to give the floor a good scrub. Right? So here, again, this is kind of like a very thorough cleaning. A second way you might hear scrub used is to talk about something that is abrasive, particularly cosmetic lotions and other creams that might be applied to one's face or body in order to cleanse the skin. An example of this in a sentence might be, she's been using a new apricot face scrub for the past 2 weeks. Right? So here's something that has, again, something that's for many people, they're trying to get rid of like dead skin or other impurities. A third way to use the noun scrub refers to another way to refer to a medical scrub suit. So I've got a picture down here just to give you kind of a picture of what's being referenced here. So this word generally is going to appear as a plural, right? And the idea is there's a material top that matches pants, right? And so that's why we're seeing the plural form of it. That in a sentence might look like CNA students are required to have blue scrubs for clinicals. This is very true for certified nursing assistants, part of their training here in the United States. Um, they get classroom instruction. There are labs where they learn particular skills, and then they go to a site to practice those particular skills. A fourth way to use the noun scrub is to refer to vegetation that consists mainly of brushwood or stunted forest growth, right? So these are not really vibrant growing plants. But an example of this in a sentence might be, you can see spots of scrub throughout the desert, right? So little plants, not really fully developed forest. Now, a fifth way you might hear this noun used is very informal. And many times it's used to talk about athletes, particularly players on a team, that are not the starters. They are not the best or the most skilled. So, this is why it can seem sometimes a little hurtful to call someone a scrub because you're essentially saying you're not the best, you're not the most talented on the team. But an example of this in a sentence could be, with such a large lead in the second half, the scrubs got a lot of playing time. So here, someone's saying the coach, manager, what have you, put in their less skilled players because there was such a substantial lead. Another word you might encounter is the adjective scrubbable. That suffix able tells us able to be scrubbed. An example of this in a sentence might be, this wallpaper is marketed as highly scrubbable. So it's great for families with young children. Right? So here the idea is, right, you might be able to take soap, water, and remove things that small children have drawn or um, made a mess with on the walls. Again, thanks so much to Luis for suggesting today's verb, and I thank you all for watching. Have a great day.